Meet Patricia Gatling, Commissioner and Chair of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. A top enforcer of the human rights law, Commissioner Gatling is committed to combating and eradicating discrimination throughout the city of New York. Having served as the first Assistant District Attorney of Kings County, Commissioner Gatling attributes her interest in law to her days growing up in the South during the Civil Rights Movement. Bright, gifted, and authentic, find out why she's the boss. Okay, before we can know what it's like to spend a day in your shoes, first we have to know what shoes we're getting into. Shoe game check. Tell me about the shoes that you work in.
I work in Jimmy Choos. And so I express myself by the shoes I wear, by my hair, and by my jewelry. And like I said, everything else is New York black.
I love
Always, every day, all the time.
You are the Commissioner and Chair of the Human Rights Commission. Tell me, when did you first develop your passion for human rights?
I think my passion sort of started with my life story, so growing up in the South, and, civil rights is human rights. It was Malcolm X who said that, African Americans won't have their civil rights respected until we first have our human rights. And so he was the one who talked about human and civil rights. I grew up in a civil rights environment. And so when the mayor appointed me to the Human Rights Commission, I said to him, "You have a Human Rights Commission in New York City? The way you people speak to each other and deal with each other in New York?" He says, yeah. And so when, he says, "Look it up," And so when I did, I found out that we were the oldest human rights, civil rights agency in the country, that we had the broadest and strongest enforcement law, because I had an enforcement background. I was a former prosecutor, and that it had a history that was connected to mine in Mississippi.
And so in 2002, the lawyer became a commissioner.
She sure did.
10 years later, here you are still at the commission. What's it like for you? Are you happy that you took on the role?
It's just been, like Barbara Jordan would say, marvelous. It really has been. I mean, in terms of my professional career, it's just been incredible, because I've learned a whole new aspect of the law. It's civil law, it's human rights work. I'm in an arena that as a prosecutor I never would have been in.
Talk about how your law background helps you in the position that you're in now.
Well, we enforce a law, which is the human rights law, which is it's a civil rights law, and it's the strongest and broadest civil rights law in the country, actually, in that we protect more classes of people than any other civil rights law. We have subpoena power, we have the power to fine individuals, we have the power to force companies to hire people, to promote people, and so there are a lot of powers here. And lawyers have been at the helm of this agency for any number of years, and then they've had non-lawyers. And I think that given the powers that we have now, it really requires a lawyer. We litigate, we go to administrative courts here. And so you need to be a lawyer to be here.
Tell me the basis of the city's commission on human rights. How does it function?
Well, basically it allows a person to come in and file a complaint if they feel that they've been discriminated against. And that would be in housing, public accommodations, and employment. We cover city. That means if you feel you've been discriminated by the city, you come here. If you feel you've been discriminated, say, by a private company, you can come here as well. Anybody doing business, working, or playing in New York City is covered under our law for the most part. And so they'll come in and they'll meet with a lawyer. The lawyer would determine whether or not there's probable cause that this individual has been discriminated against. And then essentially we sue them civilly.
What's a typical day like for you here in the commission?
Well, that's kind of interesting because it varies. I spend a great deal of time out of the office on speaking engagements because, a large part of our mandate in the law is to educate the public. And so every time I speak, that's a way of sort of educating and talking about what we do. So I spend a great deal of time doing that. And then we have quite a number of foreign visitors that come here because our model here at the Human Rights Commission is much like the models of countries and federal human rights commissions in other parts of the world. And so they come and they want to know how we do business. And so I spend a lot of time hosting foreign visitors, talking to young people about the work and their protections, because young people are protected. So if I'm not speaking, then I'm coming in and I'm reading cases, you know, that have been adjudicated and in my appellate role, to make sure that the adjudication was proper. So I'll come in and I'll read those. I'm pretty hands-on. You know, I don't like to sit at my desk. First of all, I'm trying to get 10,000 steps in a day. So see, these Jimmy Choos have to be able to walk.
Yes.
And so they walk, you know, and they walk quite a bit. And so I'm trying to get in my 10,000 steps. So I'm always walking around nosing and seeing what everybody's up to and saying hi. I mean, I guess that's just sort of my management style, is open door and open.
What advice would you offer to those who want a career in public service?
Well, you know, first of all, they have to be willing to work a long time before they can afford Jimmy Choos.
Duly noted.
You know, because there's really not a lot of money in it, but it's so rewarding, because all you have to do in government is get up every single morning and do the right thing. And government is really just about service. And if you don't want to be in that position of always giving, and not necessarily getting anything back for it, other than the satisfaction that you know you are giving and doing the right thing, then don't come near us.
Well, Mayor Bloomberg did the right thing when he put you in this position.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for your time and for
you.
speaking with us and giving us insight into the commission.
It's been my pleasure.
That's it for this edition of She's the Boss. You can catch past episodes on MadameNoir.com, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Madame Noir and like us on Facebook.